Jake Ottinger never pushed the buttons, but it's the equivalent of you don't kill a religious leader, is basically what it is.
Stars fire Pete DeBoer. Pete, your initial reaction was like, wow, how did this all get so bad or so crazy for the Stars right now? Like, are they sneaky a mess?
Yeah, I don't think it's sneaky anymore. I asked the question, like, is this the biggest crash out that you've seen from a team immediately after hitting the conference final? And I said that on Twitter, and a lot of people push back with, like, you know, the New York Rangers won the President's Trophy last year. They reached the conference final. This year, they flame out. They fire their coach. They're terrible. They missed the playoffs. Sure, but take away the immediacy factor there, because we're talking about last year's team that made the conference final. We're days away, or I guess like a week or two away from the Stars hitting the conference final. Not only do they suck in the conference final, they're a shell of themselves. They can't score goals. Their coach throws their goaltender under the bus. They end up firing the they end up firing the coach instead of the goaltender. But like, it all falls apart immediately and just comes crashing and burning down. And now we're talking about trading Jason Robertson. Like, the Stars are an absolute disaster right now.
So where do you think they're going to be a year from now? We don't know who their head coach is going to be. I mean, it could be Misha Donskov. Maybe this all explains why he didn't get a gig. But I know that some teams that were looking at him were like, this guy hasn't really been a head coach, so he's more of a team builder. He did all this stuff with Vegas, but not a head coach. Maybe he's the Stars head coach, but where do you think they are, say, a year from now?
It's a good question. They're still going to be a good team, I would imagine. And like, I don't think that firing DeBoer is the wrong answer here. Like, we had the discussion after Game 5. We kind of felt like you had to fire him based off of the things that he said about your franchise goaltender, and it comes out days later that like these players didn't like that. Ray Ferraro, who I feel like is a very, very pragmatic person, doesn't like being hot takey, had the energy of like, oh, that was totally unacceptable from DeBoer after that Game 5. And I just think bigger picture, he's blamed everybody but himself.
Yes. Oh, I mean, he was bitch city in that series. Like,
blamed the officiating.
Yeah.
Blamed the other team's players for being dirty. Like, blamed his offense, like, and his players for not scoring goals, which, like, to a certain degree I get, but like, how many struggles are you going to pick without putting some blame and some shine on your own coaching staff, on yourself? I think you have to take accountability, and ultimately it's hard to escape the feeling like Pete DeBoer is the reason that Pete DeBoer does not have a job today.
Okay, we had discussed that he had a year left on his deal and then maybe the Stars wouldn't fire him. Here's what ends up happening. The Stars season ends. There are 3 head coaching vacancies. Sean had to remind me it was 3, not 2. Always forget about the Kraken. They fire him the day after the final head coaching vacancy is filled. Did they do him dirty?
No, I mean, I think they got to do their due diligence. They got to take their time to make a decision that's right for their team. I think, again, it comes after you have the exit interviews and you hear from these players and decide if you're able to move forward with DeBoer, if you want to move forward with DeBoer. And I don't think they owe him anything in terms of like making him available so that he can catch a job with one of these other teams. If Pete DeBoer wanted to talk himself out of a job and have availability to land in another spot, should have lost in the first round, my friend. Shouldn't have let Mikko Rantanen save your ass.
Thought about it for a little bit.
Yeah. So I don't really think about that at all. And ultimately, I think Pete DeBoer made his own bed.
2 things before we get to Sean Shapiro. Which teams that hired new coaches do you think see this and say, fuck, DeBoer was available? Because at the top of my list by a mile is the Anaheim Ducks. If Pete DeBoer coaches the Ducks next season, they're a playoff team.
I mean, who's to say that they
might
not
be anyway.
Going to be with
Joel Quenneville's a great coach.
Like, I don't think I don't know if I would take DeBoer over Quenneville.
Whoa. I do. I would take DeBoer over Quenneville because he's been doing it more recently, but Quenneville is like pretty bulletproof. Either way, they got a great coach.
Yeah, and I mean, you throw out the Rangers. I think the Rangers got their guy. I don't think they're going to regret not having Pete DeBoer. Maybe the Penguins.
Was texting with Petey this morning about it because I bounced this off him, and he brought up the Penguins, and I was like, oh God, that would be such a Penguins thing to do if they were like, we got Pete DeBoer, we got Sid and Gino, we're good, we're taking another run at it. And that would be the most fruitless, but obviously Penguins thing to do. So maybe it's good that maybe the Stars saved the Penguins from themselves. Now, a lot of leashes just got shorter.
I think that's probably
Jim
true.
Hiller in LA, Andrew Burnett in Nashville, my two. Who else do you think? Lindy,
maybe. Yeah.
My only response to all of those is like, where could they get any shorter than they were before the coaches were fired?
I think that's the fair response. Like, I think Lindy was probably on a short leash. Anyway.
Lindy's getting fired if they don't make the playoffs.
I think Lindy might get fired mid-season.
I don't know if he gets fired in season because I think that the Sabres right now are giving up such a vibe of they don't know that the hockey season's happening. Like they're going to forget, I'm not kidding, to fire their coach.
I don't think that's the case
because now they have Yarmo.
Yeah, I think
true.
they have the vibe I get from them now is like everyone is unemployed if this shit doesn't work this year. So I don't know. And then like the other two guys you mentioned, like I feel like Hiller's leash got as short as it could after the first round. Like I feel like if he doesn't get past the first round next year, he's going to get fired.
I'll tell you what I'm really rooting for here. I don't think it's going to happen. I think Misha probably gets the job in Dallas. I really want Jay Woodcroft to end up in Dallas.
Oh, I already made that Photoshop.
I want it so bad because it would be the funniest outcome if the Oilers lightly get DeBoer fired. We all know that he got himself fired, but like the Oilers knocking out the Stars 2 years in a row, them hiring Woodcroft, and then the Stars beating the Oilers next year would be incredible.
I'll tell you what, Woodcroft would not be a bad hire for that team. Woodcroft is a very high floor coach, and I think that obviously the Stars want to take the next step, but you also kind of want to mitigate the damage right now. And I like Eileen, one of our best whatnots, said that the Robertson trade thing has been shot down by reporters. I will remind you, the Dallas Stars, specifically Jim Nill, said, I am not trading Logan Stankoven. Mm-hmm. So like these things do change, but the point is well taken. I don't think they should be in a hurry to trade Jason Robertson, but I think everything's on the table for them.
Yeah.
And if you could offer sheet players that if you could offer sheet expensive players, meaning like you could steal a guy without having to give up 4 first-round picks, wouldn't the Stars just slash all their money and give Evan Bouchard as much money as they possibly could? I mean, like they need that guy so fucking badly.
I mean,
a lot of teams do, but like no team needs a star right shot defenseman like Dallas.
I mean, they have Miro Heiskanen, but that would be incredible. A team that has Miro Heiskanen and Evan Bouchard. I feel like the Stars need more of a defensive-minded right shot defenseman.
That's what we thought about Edmonton. And Stan Bowman was like, guys, you're right. We're signing John Klingberg and trading for Jake Wallman. And they have the best defense in the NHL. So what do we know? Let's bring on our dear friend Sean Shapiro from DLLS. And did I say the proper amount of L's? I kind of slurred them. DLLS. Bill Cosby voice. Jello. Hey, buddy. And Elite Prospects. Sean, we talked about this kind of like dancey thing of like, would they really do it? Do they? And now they do. Your reaction to the Stars firing Pete DeBoer?
Yeah, there's a couple ways I look at it, but the best example I can do is Jake Ottinger never pushed the buttons, but it's the equivalent of you don't kill a religious leader is basically what it is, where when you go and you drag... When you put the guy up on the cross, all of a sudden, all of his acolytes then realize that, they could come for us next. And so that's basically what happened here, where Jake Ottinger never poisoned the well. He's never doing anything. But Jake was really much Jake Ottinger would wear a letter on that team if goalies were allowed to wear letters. He's the guy who organizes... Yeah, they should be. And he organizes team golf outings. He's the guy when all 5 of the Stars' Finns found a sauna on the road. Jake Ottinger was the guy who found it. So Pete didn't just sewer a goalie. He went and sewered the guy who was basically the team party planner. And so when you go and do that, all of a sudden everyone else's grievances, well, hey, if Jake is going to be backed over with a bus twice, everyone else all of a sudden next interview says, well, screw that, and basically comes to Jake's defense without Jake ever having to call for it. That's what happened. Pete DeBoer lost the room because of how poorly he handled the Jake Ottinger situation. And it's not even the pull. Everyone's going to be, oh, he pulled him after 2 shots. The biggest thing is Pete did not talk to Jake before meeting the media on Saturday, 48 hours after making the pull. He makes the pull. There's a full 24 hour. There's a whole Friday. Both Ottinger and DeBoer hold their own exit meetings with the media. They still haven't spoken, either of them. And here's the great thing is, Jake Ottinger's not a hard guy to get a hold of. I actually texted him myself during that time, and Jake took the time to respond to my text. And so if Jake is responding to Sean Shapiro and I'm a nobody, he definitely would have had time to talk to Pete DeBoer for his head coach and bury the hatchet for a little bit, or whatever terminology we need to use right now. So that's what Pete did. Pete basically lost the room by sewering his goalie and not taking the time to do any of his own damage control in his own room with Jake afterwards. That's what happened.
Well, let me ask a guy who didn't give a fuck then.
That's what my question is like, do you get the sense of like, did Pete DeBoer want to get fired? Did he say, I've got 1 more year left on this contract. I can get paid for doing nothing rather than losing in the conference final for a 4th straight year? It sounds like a ridiculous question, but sort of non-zero chance that he just wanted to fucking sit on his couch this year?
I don't know if it goes that far, but there is a extreme element of I'm making $4.25 million with no stress attached to it. Isn't bad, because that's what Pete's going to make this year. So he's going to get to make that money to sit at home and do nothing. And I know, like you guys were saying before I hopped in, like, did the Stars do Pete dirty by not waiting for a job to open? Honestly, if the Stars were going to let him go, and you've got an owner in Tom Ghilardi who worries about dollars and cents, and a week ago said I would never fire Pete DeBoer, wouldn't you try to get him out the door before those happen so you save the money? Because if they get him fired before the Bruins job is filled, before any of the other jobs are filled, all of a sudden they're off the hook for that $4.25 million. So I think I think it really was the Stars doing their timing and due diligence, but it was it doesn't. I thought I gave DeBoer a little bit of grace afterwards, after it happened. Like, oh, maybe it's just an emotional thing, like right after the game. But it's the not following up afterwards, no kind of taking credit for himself, never taking it, basically putting the blame everywhere else the entire time. Just maybe maybe he did want to go. Maybe that's the answer. So I don't know. It's baffling, man.
So Jim Neal says new voice. Does that voice belong to Misha Donskov? Does that, like, it seems like the Stars like their group, and that, tell me if I'm wrong, and that one guy kind of upset it. So do they promote Donskov? Obviously, like, the list of available coaches was shorter than we thought would be anyway, because Carl went back to college. So is it just as simple as that, or do they open this thing up?
Well, I think you have to call David Carl either way. Like, I know he went back to college and he signed the 5-year extension, but there's definitely college coaches all have some sort of activation in there. And Carl said he was waiting for the right job. So you have to, if you're Dallas, you owe it to yourself to make that call to David Carl to say, are we the right job? Because I think you have to make that call. It could be a very quick, but if you're David Carl, how is Dallas not the right job? If you were ever to go to the NHL and make the jump, how is this not the right job, right? So if you're Dallas, you go and make that call. You mentioned Donskov, and he's obviously an assistant coach there, and he was part of the Team Canada staff. And I've spoken to Misa a lot, and I like him a lot. But he's never been a head coach at the junior or pro level ever before. He's worked everything, and so not saying he couldn't be, but if you're a team trying to win a Stanley Cup and you're making a hire, are you willing to put all your eggs in a basket of someone who's never been a head coach at the pro level? I don't know if the Stars would be willing to do that. The funny one, and I'm surprised you guys didn't bring this up, is what about when Glenn Gullickson's available to interview in about 8 days? And Glenn Gullickson, assistant coach in Edmonton, runs the power play there, former Dallas coach in 2010 and 2011. really good relationship with Jamie Benn. So if you still are going to bring back Jamie Benn, he's probably the one of the ways you make that work. And he's a guy who we've always polled, well, Glenn has never gotten these opportunities before because the last 2 years, because the Oilers have gone too deep in the playoffs for openings to be available. So are we looking at the Glenn Gulutzan opportunity to have knocked Dallas out running their power play, as you saw last night, power play goal in overtime, to now go to Dallas, back where he was a head coach before and now has that experience? So I wouldn't be surprised if the Stars are calling the Oilers, but not necessarily about Woodcroft could be an option too, but Gulutzan is the more hilarious and maybe even realistic option here right now.
Okay, I'm going to put our dear producer Sean on the spot here. Sean, could you please give me your top 5 reasons why the Edmonton Oilers power play is awesome?
Leon Draisaitl, Connor McDavid, Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, Corey Perry, I guess now. And sometimes always, and Evan Bouchard.
There you go.
That's my top 5
That's my
as
top
well.
5 as well. Yep. I will say, you said the word hilarious. I think Carl would be hilarious. Woodcroft would be hilarious. Carl would be hilarious. It'd be the second time in a calendar year that Dallas has stolen a pride of Denver. And that part of it would be funny. Also, the Denver University to Dallas Stars pipeline would get even stronger. That to me would be amazing. But I do want to ask, like, on the DeBoer side of things, if you're a team looking at hiring DeBoer, would you, after his last 2 stints, have some hesitation about the way that he treats his players, specifically his goaltenders?
It would definitely come up for me. It's something where I think it depends on I think Pete's handling of his goalies and how things have gone, I think it's really hurt his chances for a opportunity with a real contender, right? Because I think that's one of those where Pete's biggest flaw is what happens when there's only 4 teams left in the playoffs. But he also has the ability to get you to the Final Four. There's lots of teams that would be falling over themselves to have the problem of, oh no, we've been in the Final Four 3 years in a row. So I think he will still get opportunity for that reason. I do think Pete is probably, wherever he goes next, and we know he'll end up somewhere next, he's probably going to, wherever he goes, it's probably going to have to take somebody from a management perspective who's going to have to ask the hard question of, can I bring you in? And can you please just not touch the goalie at all? Just let the goalie coach do their job. Don't do anything with the goalie, and you just coach everything else in front of them. And if you can do that, I think Pete's fine, because we know when we look back to the poll and how it happened, we know he didn't consult the Stars goalie coach Jeff Reese when he pulled Jake Ottinger, and obviously he's had to live with that, and that's his decision. So if you're the next GM and you're talking to Pete DeBoer, it becomes, all right, we like what you do, but can you come in and can you just please leave the goalie alone? Just accept it. Find some mantra to say whenever you get asked about it. Just leave it alone. You can just adopt. So many other coaches have said it. I know nothing about goaltending and just been repeated that. So Pete just needs to take that out of someone else's playbook and he'll get another job.
Sean, I realized it like 44 seconds later, but the Gulutzan 8 days thing went right over my head. So I appreciate you saying that that in 8 days, yes, he'll be available. Of course.
Yes.
Wouldn't Stars fans be bullshit with that though? If like bringing back Glenn Gulutzan is the answer?
Would they? Probably. I mean, there would definitely be people who push back against it, and I don't want to be harsh here, and this is not about, and this is across all markets, but I don't know how many Stars fans even remember Glenn Gulutzan was the coach. I mean, it was 2010, 2011, and like,
yeah, I'll be honest,
the fact of the matter is, exactly. So it's like, I don't know, like people might say like, oh, there's going to be some diehard people who'll be like, yeah, oh my God, they brought him back. I don't know how many people remember, because this team has gone through, since then, it's been what? Lindy Ruff, Jim Montgomery, Ken Hitchcock, Lindy, now Rick Bowness. I've maybe repeated names, but it's been so long since he's been the coach. So it's not like it's not like going to the retread of a guy from 5 years ago. We're talking a long, long time ago. So maybe you'd get some of that. I think the question is, with Dallas, how are you going to, if you don't take somebody from the current staff, like like Elaine Nasruddin has head coaching experience. So maybe you go to Nasruddin and you say, hey, he's already part of the head coaching staff, and just changing the top voice. Maybe that's the best solution. But it's not like you're going to go get somebody with a quote unquote more impressive resume right now. Then you're not going to go get that other resume experience guy. So it's a hire where no matter what the Stars do, there's going to be a large portion of the fan base who's going to be like, wait, we let the guy go who was perfect in game sevens for this? No matter who it is, that's going to be the reaction for part of the fan base.
I hate that. Pete knows I hate the DeBoer game 7 stat so much because
I know. I know, but I get it.
Worked great for him last year.
He's great at coin flips.
And this year.
I mean, if you want to go the veteran route too, like Peter Laviolette is available. That would be a guy that
Torts?
Yeah.
Oh my God. You say no?
I would say no, but I also Stars owner Tom Ghilardi a week ago said, Pete's a top 3 to 5 coach in the league. I don't see how we would ever change him. It's change our coach. And that's what, not even a week ago, he said, I guess, yeah, exactly a week ago. So Tom Ghilardi's decision could be, it's hard to get into his head on this one. So I'd imagine no after how this all ended, but maybe not. Maybe you just think you need someone else to come in and kick the players' asses and do it. I don't know.
Do they? I don't even know what an overcorrection could look like as far as addressing their defense this offseason, but is that basically going to be it? Like I joked yesterday, but I've come around on it. If I'm the Stars, I actually am re-signing Cody Ceci, and then I am trying to find right defensemen who are better than Cody Ceci to play above Cody Ceci, and then voila, you've got Cody Ceci as like a number 4, 5, or 6 defenseman, and you've actually got good right defensemen. Easier said than done, though, but is that basically like plans 1 through 10 plus get a new coach?
Yeah, that's definitely. I mean, I agree with you on Cody Ceci. Cody Ceci took so much heat that just was unnecessary because I don't know what else you expected the Stars to do. Like Miro Heiskanen gets hurt, you have to bolster your defense, and it's not like you were going to go get that guy mid-season that all of a sudden fills all those magical boxes. So like Cody Ceci got a lot of heat basically because we don't live in a video game world where you could go and say, force the Oilers to trade you Evan Bouchard like you were talking about, right? So so if the Stars should bring back Cody Ceci, I think you just have to then bolster on top of where he is. And then the other thing that this team has to just figure out, and that's been the big talking point and everything like that, is how do we play a playoff style? How do we get tougher? Yada, yada, yada. All those cliches right now. They also have to be careful to not overcorrect too far because I've watched this franchise do that before. The Lindy Ruff was, and this actually is something I've heard was part of the discussions that they talked about. When Lindy Ruff's last year in Dallas, he's coming off best record in the Western Conference the regular season. He doesn't get the contract extension he wants. And they go into, there's an injury to a couple guys in training camp, and Lindy's give a shit meter is pretty low, and they don't really get things done. And then he's fired as a lame duck head coach. He just goes through the end of the year. And the Stars went from that to bringing back Ken Hitchcock. And they went to, I remember I was at the press conference, they bring in Mark Mathot and Martin Hansel. And I remember Jim standing next to them being like, these are the guys that are going to make us so tough to play against. And we're talking about Mark Mathot and Martin Hansel. Martin Hansel played like 3.5 games, and Mark Mathot got hurt a ton too. The Stars have overcorrected hard before. They need to look in the mirror right now and not do that too far. You need to add some, you need to go find your right-handed D. You need to do that, but also realize what you're doing has been good enough to be in the Final Four. What you've been doing is still working. Just don't just tear it all down because of one, 2 series loss, but don't tear it all down because this team has done that before, and this GM and owner have done that before. And I think that's the second meeting. They had their talk about, do we bring back Pete DeBoer? Right now, I hope there was somebody was smart in the room when Tom Ghilardi and Jim Nill are sitting there and says to them, okay, great. Remember, we're here. We don't need to rip it all the way down to here and completely change everything like we did before when we went from Lindy to Hitch, and it was a complete disaster.
We all silly like the mayor.
I mean, we'll see what Edmonton ends up doing. We'll see what LA ends up doing, I guess. But that, I mean, adding Marner to that group, we'll see what they have to peel off. But what a get. Mitch Marner is a Vegas Golden Knight, and free agency is canceled, Pete. 8 times 12 for Marner in Vegas. Nobody good is left available. I kid, but the big ticket is gone before free agency even begins.
Yeah, and at a number lower than we expected that Mitch Marner contract to look like, I think, right? I mean, $12 million, but then again, let's discuss it. No tax.
At all.
Cap's going up,
no
no
kinds
tax.
of no kinds of
No
taxes
tax, that's
at
it
all.
whatsoever.
No sales tax, no nothing.
No income tax. We won't discuss it, but let's acknowledge it. Just get out of the way. That's the reason the number is so low, is because Nevada has no state income tax. So
maybe, I mean, I do know that it was reported that he wanted to go someplace with no state income tax. I know that we're not allowed to talk about that, but I just think it's an insane fit for him. Perfect. Like perfect. He's going to play with Jack Eichel, and he is an insane fit for them because they went to the second round last year, but did they ever get over Jonathan Marchessault? No.
No,
not really.
I think they definitely lost something when Marchessault left, and they definitely lost. The thing about Marchessault, though, is that he's the kind of player that shows up in huge moments, and that is not exactly the book on Mitch Marner at this point in time. But we did go without the big midseason splash from the Vegas Golden Knights this past year, which it's very rare that we see them not do that. And instead, they go out and get the big fish in free agency, and they get him for an extra year with that sign and trade, whether you want to attribute that to extend from the Maple Leafs, perhaps. But yeah, I think that Vegas was quiet in the weeds for a little bit, and then they just kind of found a moment to strike, and they got a huge fish here.
How do you think this shakes up the Western Conference? Because now we've seen in a matter of months Mikko Rantanen go to Dallas, and we saw what he did in the postseason, and now Mitch Marner to Vegas. Because I know that Mitch Marner does have the reputation of being a dog in the playoffs, but it's going to be different in Vegas because it just is different in Vegas. I think he's going to be fine there, and I think that he'll probably be great in the postseason as well.
Yeah, I think that it's definitely more of an opportunity for him to succeed because he doesn't necessarily have to be centerpiece in playoffs. And I think in the past in Toronto, like him being a good old Toronto boy and being a member of the core four, there's a lot of pressure on him for being like at the center of these big moments. There might be a little less pressure on that, especially with playing with Eichel, who's done it before, won a Stanley Cup there. I just feel like there's going to be a better path for him. But I don't think that it reshifts like the balance of powers all that much in the Western Conference. If anything, it kind of brings Vegas up to the level where they previously were and kind of restores them a little bit. But it's not shifting anything on its axis. I still think there are a number of teams that are powers in the Western Conference.
I mean, they're the best team in the Pacific last year in the regular season, at least. And I mean, we'll see what Edmonton ends up doing. We'll see what LA ends up doing, I guess. But that, I mean, adding Marner to that group, we'll see what they have to peel off. But what a get. They do peel off Nick Waugh. He goes to the Maple Leafs. And I feel like I'm going to talk about him every day because I feel like people are going to forget about this. They're going to see Leafs lost Marner. And obviously Marner, far superior to Waugh. But Nick Waugh is for a sign and trade piece, I think is an awesome get. That's like if you want, that's your third line center, and he's on low money, big guy. They kind of want some of that. We saw some of the dumb stuff he did in the postseason. Leafs need some of that. I think that's a really, really, really good ad. The problem is now all the money that they're saving, I thought they could try to chase Brad Marchand with. That's not happening because he's staying in Florida. Did they chase Besser? Did they chase Ehlers? But just hit on everything I just said, including Waugh.
Yeah, I like Waugh, especially when you thought that you were going to lose Marner for nothing. Like that was essentially the foregone conclusion there. If you can get Nick Waugh out of it, not bad. Especially he fits the mold of what you're looking for in terms of that playoff intensity and that edge. So yeah, a nice little silver lining. It's still like trading Mitch Marner for Nick Waugh in a way. Not good. I'm not gonna say it's a good deal, but like again, it's like a nice little present. Yeah. What else did you mention? Sorry, you asked me to answer.
Just like what do they do? I know. Yeah. No. It was two things. It never works. If you ask somebody a two-part question, it's proven they can't do it. I can't do it. You can't do it. What do they do with the savings?
I would not go for a big ticket winger signing here, whether it's Ehlers, whether it's Brock Besser, assuming that those guys are going to command a pretty hefty price, especially with Marner now off the board. And like we did know that like some teams were setting aside cash for Marner. Like that might mean that they're willing to go higher for an Ehlers or a Besser. And if you're Toronto, like why are you going to throw big money at a big ticket winger when you've seen over the past handful of years that your salary cap allocation has hurt you because you've spent so much money and poured so much money into forwards. And at the end of the day, the forward that you end up getting, if you are throwing big money at it, is probably going to be worse than Mitch Marner, at least games 1 through 82. Maybe you have some faith that just changing something or maybe a more of a dog intensity in the playoffs helps push you a little bit more forward. But I wouldn't take that risk by throwing all that money at like a secondary option at wing or a worse winger.
You know who I'm trying to sign if I'm the Leafs?
Who?
Patrick Kane.
Why?
Because that is going to be a 1-year option. I don't know if he wants a 2-year deal. I mean, I don't even know what he wants out of his future anyway, but you can take a beat, save the money, and then next summer when a lot of guys could be available, and I do mean a lot of guys, one of whom I won't name because he's not going, sorry, Nick Alberga, you're not getting Connor McDavid, but there are going to be so many good free agents, and if you get a Kane, then you can take your stab at, can he get 20, 25 goals playing with Austin Matthews? Yes, I think. And then playoff performer, if and when you get there, which I think they will. And then you've got the dough to spend next summer. You don't get crazy now on one of the two players you just mentioned. You go in the next tier. Like, I don't want to sign Mikhail Granlund. I don't want to throw a lot of money there. I want to go short term and older guy. Like Marchand would have been perfect for that, but he's playing for 6 years now.
I get what you're saying. I don't know about Kane or if he kind of fixes anything or makes them a better team. And at the end of the day, I really don't know about Patrick Kane's appetite for going to play in Toronto. Like he, at this point in his career, he's accomplished pretty much everything that he could want to accomplish. And ultimately, it feels like what he wants, like from the outside looking in, is to be comfortable and to be in a place that he really enjoys going to the rink every day. And it feels like he really likes Detroit because of DeBrincat, because of like their family relationships, because of there's not like a ton of noise or pressure or whatever in Detroit right now. It would feel like going into a pressure cooker in Toronto. And at this point in his career, I don't know if he wants that. And so we'll see. It's an interesting idea.
If he likes it in Detroit, he can just Phillip Rivers it, live in Detroit and commute to play for the Maple Leafs. Perfect.
I think that the elements of playing for the Maple Leafs will apply even if you live in Detroit.
Yes, I do think so. Okay, I'm not giving up on the Leafs with them losing Marner, and I think that if people watched Game 5 of the second round, I don't think that many Leafs fans are giving up on the Leafs after losing Marner. I think it was time. I think he's going to be better off in Vegas. And would not surprise me if the Leafs find a way to take a step forward next year without him.
Honestly, yeah. Like, honestly, I feel like I'd be more out on the Maple Leafs and like losing belief in the Maple Leafs if they re-signed Mitch Marner and just tried to run it back year after year after year. like it's definitely disappointing to lose a guy like Marner, but I think both sides are ready to move on clearly. And at this point, now you can say, okay, now we go. It's going to look different. It may look worse on paper, but it's going to look different, and maybe that leads to different results.
We all silly like the mayor.
I love that the Canadians are just moving downhill. They're still running. They're not letting we got to the playoffs. We're a young team. Now we got the next few years to see if we can get back there. F that. Big trade in the NHL, everybody. Noah Dobson goes to the Canadians. We're going to talk about it now. Everyone, make sure that you are subscribed to All Things What Chaos, and let us proceed. Canadians get Noah Dobson, 25-year-old, shall we say, stud, right shot offensive defenseman, and the New York Islanders, who, as someone on Twitter noted, is excellent at sending out young defensemen for the 16th overall pick. Get the 16th overall pick, the 17th overall pick, and first time for everything, Emil Heineman gets traded.
Ah, look at that. Not bad connections there. Yeah, this is a big one. We all were expecting Noah Dobson to get traded. I don't know how many people had Montreal on that board, even though they've been kind of linked loosely. I'm surprised that he goes to Montreal. I love this deal for the Canadians, and I'm not the biggest Noah Dobson guy. I understand Noah Dobson is coming off a pretty down year in which he looked horrible at points. I understand that. This is buying low on a guy with a super high ceiling, and with the extension and with the deal and the value that they gave up for him, getting a guy with that kind of ceiling who doesn't have to be your number one and is certainly not going to be your number one behind Lane Hudson, big fan of this deal for the Habs.
How do you like the Canadians' best two? And I agree, this is awesome for the Canadians, but how do you like their top two defensemen being offensive guys? And Dobson's big. He's not the most physical guy in the world, but he at least offsets having like two little offensive defensemen. Now they got a big offensive defenseman and a little one.
Yeah, so what needs to happen now is they need to find the guys to complement those two guys, whether it's Gooley and who else, but like they need to fit in the pieces around Hudson and Dobson, but that's a way easier job than finding the two guys who can facilitate like Dobson and Hudson. Like they got the hard part out of the way, and I think they did it for pretty good value. Dobson coming in under 10, like even after the year that he just had, with the cap going up, I'm very okay with what they're paying him, especially as the cap continues to go up. Like they're in a good position right now where they got the hard part out of the way, and now they have to find the stay-at-home guys to pair with these two. And that's not going to be all that difficult, I don't think.
Yeah, and think of how many good young offensive players the Canadians have. Like even if you want to like add Suzuki to that mix, but like Caulfield and obviously Ivan Demidov, they now have two great offensive players on the back end as well. This can be a hell of an offensive team. What do you think of the Canadians giving up that much value though? Because I think people see like 16th and 17th overall picks. It's kind of an after the top two picks, no one really knows what's going on draft. So whatever, just get rid of them. They gave up kind of a ton. Like you are giving up value equal to the 4th overall pick to make this move. So I love the Canadians doing it, but this is not them just like cashing in a scratch ticket for Noah Dobson. They are really paying for the player.
I mean, you're not wrong, but I also, like you mentioned, it's kind of a crapshoot, and you're talking about late teens picks here, and you're also talking about, considering the Canadians, this is the youngest NHL team to make the playoffs. Like they're a super young team already, and they're ahead of schedule. So cash in a couple of those tickets to get a ready now player who, again, has a super high ceiling. And if he works out in Montreal, that's going to look like a steal, I think. So I'm very okay with using your picks to turn it into something that helps you now, considering where they are in their timeline, where they've made the playoffs. Now, how do you find a way to hit that next level? Those two picks aren't going to do it for you right now. And it's not like Dobson is a rental. It's not like he's an old piece. This is a guy who fits their current timeline, who I think makes them a much better team today. And like, that's about as good as you could hope to utilize those picks for right now, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I do it 100 times out of 100 if I'm the Canadians. The Islanders, meanwhile, and as we're doing this video, we don't know what they've got in their back pocket. I will caution them, as someone who covered the 2015 Bruins, you had better have something in your back pocket because, we've got ammunition to move up and go get James Higgins now, does not equal you will move up and go get James Higgins now, because the Islanders, who I think know they're getting Matthew Schaefer. They know that they're getting their number one defenseman of the future. So yeah, you don't want to just get rid of guys like Noah Dobson, but they obviously are very bullish on James Higgins. So now they have their defenseman who's going to come in Matthew Schaefer. And now they do have stuff where if they can successfully move up, they will be able to get James Higgins. The thing is now, if I'm a team with 4, 5, 6, 7, I am asking for more than these 2 picks for James Higgins because they have completely telegraphed they want to bring the boy home.
Yeah, I think you're right on the money there, and I don't blame the Islanders for making this deal. It's a real risk. Like, you're getting Schaefer, and you saw what Dobson was last year. I don't blame them for trading him. I don't blame them for reshifting their timeline. But really, like, the grade on this trade is fully incomplete until you know what they do with those picks and you know what the follow-up moves are, whether it's, whether they get Higgins or not. Like, really, the way that you're going to grade this trade is based off of what happens following, whether it's players that they draft, whether it's a package that they put together. It's very incomplete right now, but I think that the big takeaway here is that the Islanders are really realigning their assets and realigning their timeline and reshifting to a different kind of team. And I think that that's okay, but you really, it's going to look bad and it's going to age poorly if you traded Noah Dobson for a couple of picks and Emil Heineman that don't really turn into any sort of solid foundation moving forward. And that is still to be seen.
2 more things I'll say on this for why I love it for the Canadians. One, they got Dobson at good value. AFP Analytics has been nailing these contract projections, and they had Dobson at being worth 8 years times 10.25 million. The Canadians get him for 8 years times 9.5 million. That's saving of, off the top of my head, I don't know, like something like close, like 10%ish. I don't know. It's a saving, and that's very good for them. The other thing is, I love that the Canadians are just moving downhill. They're still running. They're not letting we got to the playoffs. We're a young team. Now we got the next few years to see if we can get back there. F that. They're getting better right now. And as you said, 25-year-old right shot defensemen who are good do not grow on trees. So they're just adding that. I love this for the Canadians. And this probably sounds like we don't love it for the Islanders. I don't hate it for the Islanders. Like, they got kind of sensible value. Think of what Dougie Hamilton was traded for a million years ago. It was the something like the 15th pick and a second round pick. Here they're getting the 16th and 17th overall picks. So it's not bad value. There's definitely going to be a time where Islanders fans are going to say, damn, wish we held on to that guy. But not if they do cool things with these picks. Not if they turn into James Higgins. So fireworks, good fireworks, both sides.
Yeah, like I said, I mean, it makes sense for the Islanders. It's just very incomplete right now. I wonder how much this propels them into selling off other pieces. Like, we know Peugeot is on the market and they want to trade him. I wonder about Horvat. I wonder about Barzell. Like, at this point, if you're trading Dobson for futures in order to go get James Higgins, who else are you willing to move out in order to supplement this transition period and supplement the rebuild that they're currently going through? I honestly think that almost anybody can be and should be on the table if they're willing to make that kind of move.
This is going to age horribly because by the time anybody sees this video, we'll know that something else happened. But I saw this deal go down and I was like, Horvat and 4. I'm sorry, Horvat and like 16 for 4, something like that. Do you move Bo Horvat to get James Higgins, or do you need so much more back?
I mean, I'm not kicking it out of bed. I don't know, like,
he'd be
what
perfect for Utah.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I don't disagree. I don't know if I'd have to think about like what the value is there in terms of both sides. But like again, I don't think that anybody is off the table if you're the Islanders right now, because you are fully and like honestly, I would have headed into this offseason without even knowing that they were going to get the number 1 pick. If I'm the Islanders, I headed into this offseason being like, God damn, we need to change some crap. Like, we have no identity. We're not exciting. We're not good. Everything is just kind of blech, and lose out. Like, this is a whole opportunity for them to kind of find their identity and reshift and reshape. Everybody is on the table. And so it's fascinating what they do from here on, but I don't hate this deal for them. I just really love it for Montreal.
Exactly. It's just so much more exciting for Montreal. That's the beginning, middle, and end of the story. All right, folks, we got more coming. Subscribe. Bye.
We all silly like the mayor.